We all know the diss tracks, the tabloid headlines, and the mic grabs. But behind some of those stories are conflicts that permanently redrew the map of the music world. These weren't just fights, they were cultural earthquakes. They were battles for authenticity, for territory, and for legacy, fought on stage, in the studio, and all over the airwaves. From the Coastal War that defined 1990s hip hop to a pop rivalry that kicked off with one shocking interruption, we're breaking down the unbelievable music feuds that changed the industry forever. Coming in at number 4 is the conflict that basically wrote the rulebook for lyrical warfare in hip hop. Long before East Coast versus West Coast, a war was raging inside New York City itself, a fight for history, for respect, and for the very soul of the genre. This was the Bridge Wars. In the mid-1980s, hip-hop was still young, and its origin story was sacred. Everyone agreed it was born in the Bronx, but in 1985, a track came out of the Queensbridge projects that seemed to question that story. The song was The Bridge by MC Shan and super producer Marley Marl. With lyrics bigging up their home borough, a lot of people in the Bronx took it as a claim that Queens was the real birthplace of hip-hop. That was a slight that couldn't be ignored. Out of the South Bronx, a fiery, brilliant MC named KRS-One and his group, Boogie Down Productions, fired back with a track of their own, South Bronx. In a legendary move, KRS-One premiered the song at a concert right after MC Shan performed, directly attacking him and slamming the gavel down on the Bronx's claim as hip-hop's cradle. This kicked off a series of back-and-forth diss tracks, a lyrical arms race between two of New York's most powerful boroughs. MC Shan dropped "Kill That Noise," trying to explain he never said Queens started hip-hop, just that his crew did. But it was too late. The battle lines were drawn. The war reached its climax with Boogie Down Productions' final, devastating blow. The bridge is over. Over a reggae-infused beat, KRS-One lyrically dismantled MC Shan and the entire Juice crew with such ferocity, it's still seen as one of the greatest diss tracks of all time. The Bridge Wars did more than just settle a dispute, it cemented battle rap as a cornerstone of hip-hop. It established just how much regional pride, lyrical skill, and history mattered, creating a competitive standard that would inspire generations of artists. Our number 3 spot takes us across the pond to 1990s Britain, where a rivalry massively hyped by the media didn't just sell records, it defined a whole national movement. This was the Battle of Britpop, Blur versus Oasis. In the mid-90s, Britpop was the UK's loud, guitar-heavy answer to American grunge. Two bands quickly climbed to the top: Blur, a crew of artsy, middle-class Southerners, and Oasis, a swaggering, working-class band from the North, led by the famously argumentative Gallagher brothers. The British press saw a perfect story and ran with it, framing the rivalry as a clash of English culture, the witty intellectuals versus the rough-and-tumble lads. At first, the bands were actually complementary, but as they both got bigger, the tension grew, constantly stoked by a media that loved comparing them to the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. The feud hit its absolute boiling point in August 1995. Both bands were about to drop new singles, originally a week apart, but in a massive power play, Blur moved the release date of their single, Country House, to the exact same day as Oasis's Roll With It. It was a direct challenge. The UK media went into a total frenzy. This wasn't just a music story. It was on the front page of newspapers and led the evening news. It was a national event. When the numbers came in, Blur had won the battle. Country House sold 274,000 copies to Roll With It's 216,000, snagging that coveted number 1 spot. But you know the saying, Blur may have won the battle, but Oasis definitely won the war. In the months that followed, Oasis's album, What's the Story? Morning Glory, became a global juggernaut. It sold well over 5 million copies in the UK alone, making it one of the best-selling albums in British history. The rivalry pushed both bands to be their best and launched Britpop into the stratosphere, defining a decade of British identity and leaving behind anthems we still sing today. It's clear these rivalries sparked some incredible creativity, but as we're about to see, they could also go to much darker places. It's wild how one moment can change everything. If you're digging this trip through music's biggest showdowns, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. And drop a comment. Were you Team Blur or Team Oasis? Coming in at number 2 is a feud that wasn't about sales or charts, but about what rock and roll should even be. It was a bitter clash between two of the biggest frontmen on the planet, and it symbolized a massive shift in music: Kurt Cobain versus Axl Rose. At the start of the 90s, rock was at a crossroads. In one corner, you had Guns N' Roses, the kings of 80s hard rock excess, led by the volatile and larger-than-life Axl Rose. In the other, you had Nirvana, the reluctant pioneers of the grunge movement, fronted by the fiercely anti-establishment Kurt Cobain. At first, Axl was actually a huge Nirvana fan, even wearing a band hat in public and inviting them to tour with GNR. That admiration was not a two-way street. Cobain saw Guns N' Roses as corporate rock that had absolutely nothing to say. He turned down Axl's invitations again and again, which made Axl furious. Rose started trashing Cobain and his wife, Courtney Love, in public, calling them junkies and making cruel jokes about their baby daughter. This all set the stage for one of the most infamous backstage blow-ups ever at the 1992 MTV Video Music Awards. Right before Nirvana was set to play, Courtney Love sarcastically asked Axl if he'd be their baby's godfather. Axl, completely enraged, turned to Kurt and reportedly threatened him, saying, "You shut your bitch up, or I'm taking you down to the pavement." In a moment of pure, deadpan sarcasm, Kurt just turned to Courtney and said, "Shut up, bitch." The tension kept escalating. After Nirvana's chaotic performance of Lithium, drummer Dave Grohl got on the mic and started taunting Axl, yelling, "Hi, Axl, where's Axl?" This was so much more than a personal squabble. It was a symbolic war for the soul of rock. It was the raw, honest angst of grunge against the polished, decadent party of 80s hair metal. Nirvana's meteoric rise and Guns N' Roses' slow fade from cultural relevance marked a definitive changing of the guard. It proved a revolution in sound, and attitude wasn't just coming, it was already here. And at number 1, a rivalry that started as a brotherhood and spiraled into the most infamous and tragic feud in music history. It was a conflict that defined an era, pitted two coasts against each other, and ended with the heartbreaking loss of two of hip-hop's most important voices, Tupac Shakur versus the notorious B.I.G. Believe it or not, they started out as friends. Tupac, already a huge star, was a mentor to the up-and-coming Biggie Smalls from Brooklyn. They performed together, they hung out, and they had deep respect for each other's talent. That all shattered on November 30th, 1994. Tupac was robbed and shot 5 times in the lobby of a Manhattan recording studio. Upstairs at that exact moment were Biggie and his label head, Sean "Puffy" Combs. Tupac survived, but he became convinced that Biggie and his crew had set him up. They always denied it, but the seed of distrust was planted. A few months later, Biggie released the track "Who Shot Ya?" His camp insisted it was recorded months before the shooting, but Tupac heard it as a direct taunt. That was the point of no return. After getting out of prison on separate charges, Tupac signed with the LA-based Death Row Records, run by the notorious Suge Knight. This put him in direct opposition to Biggie's New York-based Bad Boy Records, and a personal beef exploded into a full-blown East Coast versus West Coast war fanned into flames by the media. The feud hit a terrifying peak when Tupac released his diss track, "Hit 'Em Up." It was a brutal personal assault where Tupac not only insulted Biggie and Bad Boy, but also viciously claimed he had slept with Biggie's wife. The song took lyrical warfare to a new, dangerous place, and the fight spilled out of the recording booth and onto the streets. The tragedy that followed is a dark stain on music history. On September 7, 1996, Tupac Shakur was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. Just 6 months later, on March 9, 1997, the notorious B.I.G. was also murdered in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles. To this day, both of their murders remain officially unsolved. The deaths of two of the most gifted artists of a generation sent a shockwave through the world. Their feud is a permanent, heartbreaking reminder of the real-world consequences when rivalries go too far, forcing an entire industry to confront the line between competition and catastrophe. From lyrical battles that built a genre to media hype, chart races, and tragic coastal wars, these feuds are woven into the fabric of music history. They show us how the same passion that fuels incredible art can also lead to devastating conflict. They are cautionary tales and epic sagas, leaving behind legacies of both unforgettable music and profound loss. Which music feud do you think had the biggest impact? And are there any major ones we missed? Let us know what you think in the comments. If you found this journey through music's biggest rivalries fascinating, please give this video a like, share it with a friend, and make sure you subscribe for more stories that shape the industry. Thanks for watching.